Southern Ontario, pretty much the entire GTA flooded very, very recently. I mean, you had kayaks in the middle of the streets. You had boats that broke loose from their yacht clubs that were floating down the streets, not stopping at red lights. And Justin Trudeau has finally broken his silence. And it's pretty much exactly what you would think it is. He wants to increase taxes. Go figure. We're going to be taking a look at Danielle Smith, who has something to say about asylum seekers and foreigners coming to Alberta, among a few other things. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And it's good to get back to Canadian stuff. I was on a bit of an American binge there for a second, but don't worry. I'm still here. I haven't done nothing. I haven't left. All right, let's get into this here. So you got the polls. Conservatives sitting at 214 projected seats. Bottom line 179, top end 234. Justin Trudeau and his failing Liberals, 71 projected seats. And across the board, 99% likely for the Conservatives of winning the most seats and 99% likely for the Conservatives of winning a majority government. So no changes there. Everything is looking really good. Now, I did show this next photo here with the caption in a previous video, but I'm going to show it again because it's phenomenal, and it makes you wonder how good life can actually be under the next presidency and under the next government, the Conservative government here in Canada. So this goes, this is showing the VP nominee that Trump just picked, J.D. Vance, who was roommates with Conservative MP Jamil Javani, which is Pierre Poilievre's new guy. He's a new guy on the block. He's made a good name for himself. He's had some awesome speeches. He's done phenomenal, right? And they were roommates back in their time at Yale, and they still remain close friends to this day. This is really good because on the left, J.D. Vance is pro-crypto, pro-America, and on the right, pro-Canada. And I think that this combination of both of governments changing in North America here, I know North America includes Mexico, but they got a wall that they got to get through. So never mind them in this conversation. Talking about Donald Trump and Pierre Poilievre governments, I think we have a real shot of having a powerhouse economy like we once did. I mean, houses just being built everywhere, stock market doing amazing, prices of everything going down because it's not rare. A carton of milk shouldn't be as rare as it is right now for the cost to be so high. It doesn't make any sense. And not to mention all the taxes that Justin Trudeau's implemented, all these carbon taxes, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, right? He's giving them out like he's Oprah, for crying out loud. It's not good for the economy. It's really, really not good. But enough about that. Let's talk about what Pierre is going to do first when he becomes prime minister. He's going to defund CBC and sell off the headquarters for housing. And these posts get almost 1 million views, which is way more than Justin Trudeau's posts of anything of the sorts. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what Canadians want, right? Get rid of the massive, the hundreds of millions, the billions of dollars that we're pumping into these corporations for them to provide. Look, you can have a media organization that's privately run that's not government subsidized, right? Mainstream media isn't inherently a bad concept. I mean, when it's paid for by the government and it's there to prop up the government, then yes, that concept becomes extremely flawed because they don't want to piss off their boss and they're going to keep doing what they're going to do to get that money, right? When you take away their money, you have to fight or flight, and then it becomes a free market. And that's kind of what Pierre Poilievre wants, is that free market for media companies. And I'd love to know if you guys agree with that, but I have a feeling the majority of you will agree. Next up, we have this very bizarre email that somebody sent out. So the government offers different classes that you can take, right? You can take like English classes if your ESL, English is your second language, or French is your second language if you want to learn French, and yada, yada. There's community things, there's federal programs, there's municipal, provincial programs. So what this happened was this person here went out and tried to apply for a French language class. And this is the response that they got. Hello, we received your intake form. However, it indicates you are a Canadian citizen. That makes you ineligible to receive free language classes. Your intake form will be deleted. All the best, admin assistant, pronouns, she, her, and hers. And the comments are obviously saying, Pronouns are a dead giveaway. This ain't for you. But that's pretty sad when Canada offers these programs, right, for free language classes to non-Canadians, to people that are coming here that want to learn that language. What about people that are already here that want to learn that language, right? It doesn't make any sense, man. Canada has things just so ass backwards that we're living in like a Black Mirror episode here in Canada. And speaking of Black Mirror, we have this clip here by Conservative MP Michael Barrett, who says, breaking news, Randy Boissonneau's business partner confirms there's only one person named Randy involved with the company Global Health Imports. There is no other Randy, just Randy Boissonneau. Boissonneau was advancing his private business from Trudeau's cabinet. This is huge. This is very, very, very huge. And you see the top comment here. LOL going to start a new series instead of Where's Waldo? Where's Randy? So he's lying when he testifies to the government, and he's now been caught with his pants down using his position in government to further advance his private business, which, by the way, is extremely illegal. You can't work for the government and have these private business. You're allowed to have private businesses when you work for the government, but when you're using your position in the government, or there's reason to believe you're using your position in government to advance your private business, that's a massive no-no. And in this case, it's a massive conflict of interest, and it's a very standard thing for members of government at all different levels when it's found out that they have a private business, whether you sell lemonade, if you have a lemonade stand and someone finds out that you're making money selling lemonade and you're an accountant for the government or you work for Canada Revenue Agency, then you have to do a bit of you have to fill out forms, and there's a bit of an audit into that business to see if it's a conflict of interest with your government position. And in this case with Randy, yeah, man, it pretty much is. I mean, there's obviously reason to believe, or they wouldn't be doing this, that he has access to all of these contracts, all of these bids, and he's able to position himself in a very advantageous position to make himself a multi millionaire. We're not talking about a few millions, we're talking about hundreds or dozens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. No politician ever should be making that kind of money. That's not what being a public servant is about. But let's take a look here.
How many people work for Global Health Imports? What's the total staff complement?
121.
How many are named Randy?
Global Health Imports, there was one up until September 2021, Randy Boissonneau.
How many people?
Oh, so was there a second Randy Boissonneau? Did he make himself, clone himself into another position? Kind of weird, kind of crazy, but nonetheless, I'd love to know what you guys think down below about this. This is a very like controversial thing on many different fronts, but just for those who haven't known about this, I'll just say it again. Anyone who works in the government position, whether you're upper management, lower management, you're whatever it is that you do, right? Whatever it is you hold a government position, if it's found out that you make money outside of the government, there's an automatic system, right? Automatic paperwork that you have to fill out, and an audit goes into that the money that you make outside of government. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be a realtor outside of government. You could be doing anything, right? And it just to see if there is a conflict of interest. And if there is, then there's repercussions to that, because that's just how the government is. When you join the government, that's what you sign up for. You sign on the dotted line. Government sucks. I know, absolutely sucks. And we're going to be taking a look at some government numbers later on, because the government positions are kind of taking over. They're kind of taking over jobs here in Canada, and this is all because of Justin Trudeau. But let's take a look here at things that are going on in Alberta. So for those who don't know, this is what's going on in Alberta. They're creating an immigration pathway for law enforcement. So the TLDR is that Alberta is saying, all right, you want to immigrate to Canada, come to Alberta. If you have skills that can be transferable from your country, we know which country that usually is from, then you can potentially become a police officer in Alberta. That's very dangerous, because I mean, I understand that they still go through training here in Canada, but you're bringing people from a different country that have different values, different ways of living, and I understand the transferable skills. Yeah, usually that is applicable, but not when you're talking about law enforcement. That's a super important job. Look at what we just saw with President Donald Trump. I mean, he almost died because of a lack of competency within law enforcement. I understand that's a DEI issue, not necessarily a foreign country training issue, but a lot of people are against it, and I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree with this? And I do have this clip here. It's just it's not a real thing. It's just a funny clip of unseen footage of Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's new immigrant police officers. Okay, obviously that's not true. I don't know what that is. That clip is, that's the amount of context I have from that clip, but nonetheless, gave me a chuckle. I thought I'd share it with you guys. And this immigration issue is obviously bleeding into every parts of Canada. It's not just Alberta that's having this issue, which we're going to take a look at in a moment, where Premier Smith actually addresses it. But beforehand, we were warned about this. We were warned. We were warned by Stephen Harper. Take a look at what he has to say.
Not to. These guys would have had in the last 2 weeks us throwing open our borders and literally hundreds of thousands of people coming without any kind of security check or documentation.
And that's
some other
not true, Mr. Harper.
Not to.
He called it, and it became true. And here we are stuck with this massive wave of immigration, 1.2 million people per year coming into Canada. It just doesn't make any sense. But let's shift away from federal for a second and take a look at provincial and see what Danielle Smith and Premier David Eby were asked, whether they are willing to accept asylum seekers from Quebec.
Premier Legault tries to convince colleagues to accept more asylum seekers in their provinces. Did he talk to you, and did you accept to have more asylum seekers?
Look, one thing I would say, I'll speak for myself, and then Premier Eby can speak for him. We're experiencing a similar type of pressure that the federal government has to align the number of people coming into the country with the capacity of our system to be able to support it, whether it's building homes or whether it's providing healthcare or education. And I think in Quebec, it's acute. The way Premier Legault described it is they're 22% of the population and receiving over 50% of asylum seekers. And so I have some sympathy. We're 12% of the population, and we're now receiving 22% of newcomers to Canada, and we're seeing the same kind of pressures. With housing prices escalating, with the pressure on students in our school system and the pressure on our healthcare system. So I think what we are asking for is for the federal government to work with us to align so that we can bring in a number of newcomers that we can support in every province, and then also make sure that it's not disproportionately falling on one province or another. So I think that, I heard Premier Legault's message loud and clear, and I hope the federal government does too, because we're a welcoming place. We're a nation of newcomers and immigrants, and I think we want to make sure that everyone who comes here feels supported, and it may be that it's in a bit of an imbalance at the moment.
I completely support the idea that Quebec receives federal support to support these people who are arriving in such a state of vulnerability. What I do not support is that program is not available nationally, that it is only available for one province. It needs to be, if it is a federal program to support new arrivals, it needs to be in place nationally. Premier Legault did raise his wish that provinces and territories take on more asylum seekers. It was a topic of conversation around the table, including the need that we all face around additional housing and federal support for those asylum seekers. It was a constructive conversation. I'm sure it will continue.
And this is where it becomes extremely controversial, because you're not talking about immigrants, you're talking about asylum seekers. Now, asylum seekers has always been free game. I don't think that Canada, whichever government is in power, has ever turned the taps off of asylum seekers. It's always been maybe a screening process. You seek asylum in Canada, and then you come here. Whether you have to have tangible proof or documentation that your need for seeking asylum is real or not, that is a process that I'm not exactly fully caught up to speed on. But nonetheless, this is where it becomes really controversial, because immigration has been addressed. and pretty much everybody agrees that our current immigration system isn't sustainable. But now they're just passing the buck from, oh, okay, so it won't be immigration, it'll be asylum seekers, and we're just going to change the rules on people that seek asylum. I'm not really sure. I think this is a bit of a slippery slope, and I know there's a lot of people out there that just think, nope, no one comes in except for tourism. That's it. That's all. Cut that off on all fronts immediately. And I just want to pass the question off to you. How do you feel about this? Do you think that we should continue with the asylum seekers? If so, how much? Should we stop immigration for a little bit, bring it down? If so, to what numbers? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'd really like for the community to get a little bit more involved and kind of share some numbers around and see if we can come up with a little bit more solutions. So looking forward to reading them when they're posted. And you know what? I might even use some of the top comments in my next video. Okay, next up we have what's going on with the GTA here. So the 6 Buzz posted this. This is in Oakville. A bunch of boats were literally floating down the street.
Oh my God. The dock broke. Holy shit. The dock broke and all these boats are drifting down. Oh my goodness. And then everyone's on their sailboats, I think, trying to make sure they're okay. Holy shit, there's the dock.
Now, we've seen this happen, not really in Canada. We've seen this happen in places like Florida when they have the hurricanes. And you're talking about not even hundreds of millions dollars worth of damage. You're talking about billions of dollars of damages to all the buildings, all the houses, all of people's personal property and their toys and things like that. Like, it's just insane. And then the infrastructure and any damage that just the water has caused, let alone things colliding into houses and buildings and cars and things like that. It is horrible what's happened. And here's what Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow, has to say. The summary is, I don't know how this happened, but let's see what she has to say.
When it comes to the DVP, it is flooded before. It is there's issues with flooding today. Why was it not shut down early enough?
I cannot answer that question. I was assured that the emergency service and the management team have been activated early today, this morning, and we know the rain. We can tell it's coming. Maybe the severity of it caught people by surprise, I don't know, but it certainly caught other people by surprise. I had staff that had to go home because the house are flooding, the ceiling are leaking. So I don't know why DVP wasn't closed. There are some sections that are flooding, and they have closed different lanes when it's necessary, and we'll continue to monitor that.
But is that going to be something in the coming days? You're going to want more answers on the procedure around it, whether it should be closed earlier to prevent people from having to be rescued or anything like that?
Anytime there's an emergency, we need to review whether we've done everything we can, both on the prevention side and the support side when the crisis happens. So, of course, there will be a review so that we, if there are some things we can improve on, I'll guarantee you we will know about it.
Right. And so instead of taking accountability for the infrastructure that's set in place, the mayor, and you're going to see soon the prime minister, say, yeah, no, we don't know climate change, but ultimately we don't know. Very weird. Let me know down below in the comments if you were affected or know anyone affected by this insane flash flood. Next up, we have the mainstream media here has kind of a bit of a compilation. Let's see what they've got to say.
Flooding was even more of a problem in Toronto today, where the Don Valley Parkway was turned into a river and more than 165,000 people were left without power. Manisa Donabalan joining us live in studio with the latest on this. Manisa, what more can you tell us?
Matt, parts of the subway system was also shut down because of the power outages. There were also lots of road closures, including highways. Residents were being asked to avoid Lakeshore Boulevard near Ontario Place due to flooding. Toronto Fire Services said they had to rescue 14 people from flooding on the DVP. One person from inside their vehicle and another from their car's roof. They're also responding to an extremely high number of rescues related to flooding and people stuck in elevators. Commuters were turned away from Union Station when it was closed. Metrolinx says power has been restored at the station, but there are still some delays and modifications to GO service. Environment Canada said the Greater Toronto area could get hit with up to 125 millimeters of rain. Toronto Pearson Airport tweeted that their team recorded 97.41 millimeters of rain at the airport in a 3.5-hour period.
So bad, not a good condition at all. And the water is like everywhere, so I hope the city does something about it, you know.
This is not the first time we've had a significant flooding event, and we have learned from those previous ones, so we have different equipment now. We've increased our training on water rescue. We have different types of rescue boats that are being deployed right now.
Climate change is real. We are expecting sort of almost doubling the number of severe rainstorm days in 15 years. So we have to redouble our effort to have mitigating actions.
Metrolinx says all corridors except Milton are open for scheduled service, but there are significant delays of about 30 to 40 minutes across the network. Also, all stations that experience flooding have reopened, including Long Branch GO and Exhibition GO on the Lakeshore West line. Meanwhile, in Peel Region, police say they have had reports of manhole covers lifting due to the volume of rain and are urging residents to use caution when driving.
Holy smokes. And now let's take a look at what Justin Trudeau has to say, because it's exactly what you would imagine. Here we go.
Our thanks go out to all the first responders who stepped up, the city workers who are there, the hydro workers who continue to work to try and reestablish power for those who lost it. It was a significant event, and I want you to know that we're all there to work together to make sure that not just people get supported through this, but that this happens more and more infrequently in the coming years. The reality is, though, that with climate change, there are going to be more extreme weather events. So we need to continue to step up in our fight against climate change. We also need to continue to be making investments in resilient infrastructure that can handle what the future is holding. We know over the past number of years we've made about a dozen investments in flood resilient infrastructure and various measures from the federal side onto the City of Toronto, and we're going to continue to be there to make sure that people are safe and that infrastructure needs are met long into the future in this great and growing city.
I just don't understand how anyone could try to blame this on climate change. Maybe it's going over my head. Maybe I'm just not understanding, but I feel like this was a infrastructure problem. Toronto doesn't really receive this amount of rain too often, but when they do, it's an absolute shit show. I mean, for crying out loud, Toronto is labeled, has the award for the most busy highway in the entire world or something of the sorts. That's not something to be proud of. Toronto's a big city and has a tremendously large population for here in Canada. But there are other massive cities that have way bigger populations than Toronto, and their highway system is way better set up. Toronto is so poorly designed, yet people keep swarming there for whatever reason. I used to live in Toronto. I lived there for like 10 years or maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. It's just an absolute shit show. Like, it's a great city when it's not super duper overcrowded, right? You can kind of beat the traffic at certain times, zip out of the city, take a left to go all the way to the coast, take a right to go all the way out of the coast once you hit the 401, and that's it. And then you got downtown, you can go to Center Island. It's a decent city when it's not super overpopulated. But even when I left in 2016 or 2017, it was to that point where it was just so overcrowded. And I've been back, I think, twice to visit since then, right? Just to go see family and friends. And it's horrible. Like, I don't recognize it. It's so busy that I get like, I don't want to say I get anxiety going to Toronto, but yeah, I feel like Toronto is a city that if you're not from there and you're not used to it, it could definitely induce anxiety in people. It's so overcrowded. It's absolutely insane. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Is this because of climate change, or is this because Toronto's just a garbage layout for a city? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we're going to end this video. I look forward to reading through the comments once the video is posted. On your way out, I would like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. This was a pleasure. I am very happy to be back to Canadian news, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.